Hello, guys, and welcome to this episode on Power Query in Power BI. In this episode, I'm going to be showcasing how we can perform Snowflake margin in Power Query. So let's get started. Basically, a Snowflake margin in Power Query refers to merging multiple related tables using the foreign and primary keys to create a structured data set for analysis. And this is commonly used in data warehousing where the fact table references the dimension tables. Now, let's make sense of this in our sample data set before we come into the implementation. In Excel, I've got these three tables. Now, this is my fact table, and this is the record of my transaction, and I've got the date, product ID, the payment type ID, as well as the unit sold. Now, these are called the foreign keys in data warehousing as a concept. And then I've got this table, which is known as my dimension table. In the dimension table, I've got the unique list of the product names, and I've got the primary key that is pointing to each of the product ID, which allows us to identify on the fact table. And then we have the price for each of the line items, and then we have the cost. And then we have this payment type with the unique payment type names as the payment type ID. Now, essentially, we want to just replace all of these products ID with the original product names and as well as the payment type ID with the original payment type name. And we're going to also be bringing this price column into this table in the Power Query, and we're going to do the same thing for the cost, and then we're going to perform the total sales by total sales, total cost, and revenue. So let's see how we can do all of this in the Power Query. So I'm going to come to my Power BI instance, and I'm going to click on this import data from Excel. And by the way, the data are already formatted as an Excel table. So when I click on this and I come to the table design contextual ribbon tab, I can see sales record is the name of the table. And then when I come here, I can see this the product name, and then we have the payment type. So let's just go back, and then I can just find the table. So I can see the Snowflake margin, double click, and this is going to automatically start connecting to the data from my local laptop. And then in the navigator, we're going to see the three tables. So I can check the boxes for the payment type, product, and the sales amount. Now, the data is the name of the sheet where all the three tables are located. So we don't need this in the Power Query for anything. So once the three tables are selected, I'm going to click on transform data, and it's going to launch the data in the Power Query as queries. And then we can see that on the left hand side. Awesome. Now we can see the applied step, so we don't need to worry about this. Now we want to go ahead and replace these product IDs with the product names. So how do we do that? In the home tab, I'm going to say under the combined group, we have the merge queries. Now when you click on this drop down, we have the merge queries and merge queries as new. Now when I choose, for example, this merge queries as new, this simply means a new table is going to be created for me, which I don't want to create, but I can choose depending on what I'm trying to achieve. But I'm going to use the merge query so that I can perform the margin on the sales records selected table. So once this selected, I can see this caution icon. This simply means that I need to perform some operation on that table. Now I can see the sales record as the table to the left. So I'm going to click on this product ID column, and I'm going to choose the second table, which is going to be the product table, and I can see the product ID. So this is my foreign keys, and this is my primary keys, and this is going to be using the left outer join where all the rows from the first table is matching the rows from the second table, and then we can see that at the bottom the selection matches 220 of 220 rows from the first table. So I'm going to click on OK, and this is going to automatically give me a column that's going to contain all the columns from the product table. So I'm going to click on this expandable icon. I can see I've got these product columns, the product ID, and so on and so forth. Now I'm going to uncheck use original column name as prefix. Now I just want to bring in the product price and the columns and the cost. So I'm going to exclude this product ID because this is not needed. So click OK, and voila, there we go. We have the three columns: the products, price, and the cost. So we're going to do the same thing for the payment type. So I'm going to click on the merge queries, and then I can click on the payment ID column, and I'm going to choose the payment type table, and I'm going to choose the primary key, that is the payment type ID column. So this is going to also match the 220 in the first table and the second table, and click OK. And again, we have this payment type column, so we can see all the columns that we can pick from. So I'm going to uncheck the payment type ID, click OK, and then we can see the list of the payment type. Now I'm going to move this to this side, and I want to move this product also here. Now I can get rid of the product ID as well as the payment type. So let me just scroll to the left, and I can hold down the shift key or the control key and then select the product ID and press delete on the keyboard, and there we go. So we have the names of the product as well as the payment type. So I'm going to just do a little cleanup. I'm going to double click, get rid of the .1 and press enter. Cool. Now we have the units, the price, and the cost. Now we want to go ahead and compute the total sales and the total cost as well as the total revenue. So to do that, I'm going to select the price column, and I'm going to hold down the control key and select the units column. This is known as a contiguous or adjacent column selection in Power Query. So I can right click and I can see the option to perform a merge. Alternatively, I can come to the add column tab, and then under the from number group, I'm going to click on the standard, and I can see the option to perform multiplication. So this is going to perform the same thing for me, and we have the multiplication. So this perform multiplication on a row by row context. So I'm going to double click on this and call it from total sales and press enter. And then we can do the same thing for the total cost. I'm going to select the cost column, hold down the control key and then click on the unit. Now this is known as non-contiguous or non-adjacent column selection. So once we have the two columns selected, I'm going to right click on any one of them and then I can choose the products. So this is going to give me the same multiplication of each of the rows, plus, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to double click and call this one total cost and press enter. Now, to compute the total revenue, we have to select the total sales minus the total cost. So in the same order, I'm going to select this one first, hold down the control key, click on the total cost, and then now when I right click, I don't have the option to perform. Let me do that again. Select these two columns. I'm going to come back to the standard and then click on subtract, and it's going to give me the subtraction, and this is going to be my total revenue. So let's just call it total revenue and press enter. Amazing. Now I can change this data type to a fixed decimal number, and there we go. Now we can go on and calculate the total revenue by product and payment type. Now we can use the group by functionality in Power Query to do that. So I'm going to just right click on this column, the payment type, and I can go to group by. Alternatively, I can come here, I can do that here. But let's say I want to retain this sales records table. I can right click and I can duplicate, and I'm going to use this for that operation. So I'm going to click on group by. And then since we want to perform grouping based on more than one column, I'm going to use the advanced, and then we can see the option to select the product column and then the payment type column. So we have the products and the payment type column as our grouping. Now I'm going to call this one revenue. And then for the operation, this is going to perform a sum. We're going to select our numerical column, which is going to be the total revenue that we've calculated. And I'm going to click on OK, and voila, we have the revenue by product and payment type. Awesome. So I can double click, I can call this one rev by product and payment type and press enter. And we have the calculation ready. So we can consume this in the Power BI by building a visualization on them. So let's just see how we can do all of that. So of course we can choose not to, for instance, bring this table into the Power Query, into the Power BI, but let me just load everything into the Power BI. Now we can do all of this also in the Power BI, but the focus is on Power Query today. So click on the close and apply. So this is going to close the Power Query and apply the transformation into the Power BI for further maybe analysis or visualization. So I'm going to wait for some couple of moments, and as soon as the table deploys, we can just visualize the results. Okay, so we have the tables. Of course, when I come to the model view, this automatically creates the many-to-one relationship. So let me just come in and let's visualize our rev by products and payment type. So I'm going to move this into the canvas, and I can move this into the canvas also. Let's just move the 3 and wait for the default visualization. So this gave us a clustered bar chart. So I can come here and let's say I want to perform a stacked column chart. So this is working fine. And then we can see that it seems microwave is the best product in terms of revenue. So we can see this. This is going to give us the microwave as the name of the product. And then we can also see that we are getting more customers using the PayPal as their preferred payment type for this method. So this is basically how we can use the Snowflake margin in Power Query to perform further analysis. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, like, comment, share, and follow me for more videos. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.